I know for us, the thing that we've done is we try to make it so that the appraisers feel like they're getting value by associating with us.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
Welcome to the program, everybody. Dustin Harris hanging out once again in the podcast chair. Got a great guest coming up. Want to pause to remind you that we're sponsored by a couple great companies. Of course, OREP Insurance is one of them. I recently went through the renewal process with OREP, and I'm telling you folks, it's easy. Check them out. Go to orep.org. That's OREP.org. And a la mode, the software of choice for me and many appraisers across the country. There's a reason that they lead the country in report writing software for residential appraisal reports. Check them out on their website at alamode.com or pick up the phone and call them at 800 Alamode. Want to welcome back to the program a good friend, Mr. Craig Morley, coming to us out of Southern Utah. Welcome, Craig.
Hey, nice to be with you, Dustin. Good to see you.
Always a pleasure, my friend, to have you. I appreciate you taking time. Craig, of course, is the owner and managing partner of Accurity Valuations, Morley and McConkey. He is a certified general appraiser in 3 states, Arizona, Nevada, Utah. He is a board member of the Appraisal Standards Board, and he's the past president of the NAA. He also has served in the past about 8 years on the Utah board, including 4 years as chair. And I know your son is currently serving there. You come highly credentialed, my friend. It's a pleasure to have you on this program. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's really me.
Well, I know we're going to be talking about some different things regarding board complaints and GSE stuff, and I know that you probably have a little disclaimer when it comes to the fact that you're a board member of the Appraisal Standards Board. So I'll let you do that, and then we'll get that out of the way.
Yeah, I just want to make it clear that as we visit today, I'm giving my own personal opinions. I'm not representing the Appraisal Foundation or the Appraisal Standards Board, and so don't assume that I'm speaking in their behalf. Just make sure that we're clear that these represent my own personal opinions.
We will not hold you to it, my friend. We're free and clear on the opinion side, and we love your opinions, Craig. You've had a wealth of experience in the appraisal world. You've been doing this a very long time, and I know that you and I have had many conversations where I walked away thinking, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. I want to start out with, probably the best question for someone like you because of the experience that you've had, whether it be on the standards board, whether it be on the Utah appraisal board, the chair of the appraisal board. You've seen a lot of individuals, appraisers, maybe get themselves in a little bit of hot water. And maybe that's number one question today is how do we as appraisers avoid complaints?
Well, I think probably one of there's a couple of things. Number one, always follows along the line of competency. Don't accept assignments that you're not comfortable with doing. It seems like the vast majority of complaints that I saw while serving on the board, and that Jeff currently sees, is that people who it's slow, and we're trying to diversify our business, right? And so we take on assignments that we might not normally do if we had other more conventional appraisal work to do, and we don't have the experience and competency to perform the assignment, and so we don't follow the appropriate principles and practices in that particular assignment, or we're using a form that is not really appropriate for the assignment. And then if someone's unhappy with the results, they file a complaint. And so I think the first thing is make sure that the work that we're doing, that we're comfortable with it. We've got the appropriate competency to perform it. If we don't, associate with somebody. Give a call to someone who does, and see if you can associate and get affiliated to make sure. Have somebody go review the report before you send it off. Make sure that that they're not finding things that you didn't. And it's just always a good practice to make sure that you're comfortable in the work that you're performing.
I wish I could poll the audience.
The second thing that is probably go ahead. Yeah.
No. I just wonder if we polled the audience, how many appraisers have actually done that before? Meaning, reach out to I wouldn't say more competent appraiser, but more experienced in that particular assignment, right? Reach out and partner with those individuals. I've done it on several occasions. It's actually always been a very pleasant situation. But why do you think appraisers avoid that? Why do they jump into something they're not competent on, and then they just don't reach out for help?
Dustin, it's a good question. And I think one of the challenges that we face when we're dealing with competency is that oftentimes when we're not competent, we don't realize that we're not.
Okay.
And so that becomes part of the problem. I think the other thing is that, especially in situations where work is slow, you think, well, how hard can it be?
I can figure it out, right?
Well, and I mean, years ago, I'd seen an appraisal where somebody goes down in southwestern Utah, does an appraisal for a proposed RV park, and does it on a residential land form.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, it was absolutely clear that the appraiser didn't really know, what they were doing. And in that case, not to mention that this was an assignment that should have been completed by a certified general appraiser, and they weren't. And in the end, I mean, it cost them far more in grief, aggravation, fines, and education than what they made on the fee.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes, we need to step back and recognize that we shouldn't accept every assignment that comes in the door. We need to filter some of those things.
Yeah.
But I think it's good for us to expand our capabilities and push those boundaries a little bit. But when we do it, make sure you just affiliate. One of the interesting statistics is, and I don't know if this is still current, but about 70% of the appraisers in the United States are affiliated with an association. And it's those associations that give us the framework to develop, professional associates that we can talk to.
Yeah.
And so when we encounter, go to an appraisal summit, or get to know some appraisers. During lunch, sit down and chat with them. Hey, I've got a deal that I'm doing here. How do you guys handle that kind of a situation? Those associations are invaluable when you run into these situations where you need a little help.
Well, I think that's so key, Craig. I'm glad you brought that up, Craig, because I think a lot of appraisers, and it's just because I associate with so many appraisers, sometimes it doesn't even get into my head that what you're talking about is not much of a challenge for me. Meaning, to reach out to a network of appraisers is easy for a guy like you, for a guy like me, who is constantly associating with other appraisers. But we've got to remember that most appraisers are in their appraiser cave. They're not associating with other appraisers. And when they get into a situation that they need help, probably some of them even subconsciously are saying, I wouldn't even know who to reach out to.
Yeah, well, and if they're listening to this podcast, they reach out to you or me, and try to get some help. One of the really interesting problems that I think we encounter is that we don't frequently have our work reviewed. Where we go and initiate somebody to go look at it, say, hey, what would you suggest that I do to make sure that I'm communicating my assignment results clearly, and that I'm less likely to have a problem because I've either forgotten to address some of the required elements required under Standard 2, or that my analysis might be lacking in some way, and get some suggestions on how to improve that. And as we do that, I frequently get calls from appraisers from over a pretty large geographic area where they will encounter a situation on highest and best use. I've got a house in a commercial zone.
Mm-hmm.
Should I be a certified general appraiser to perform the assignment? And if not, how do I make sure I don't run into a problem? And I will oftentimes consult with them and say, hey, why don't you go ahead and indicate that you got significant appraisal assistance in the highest and best use section of this report, where we conferred together and determined the highest and best use was the current use, just to avoid the complaint that somebody said, well, this is zone commercial, you're a residential appraiser. How do you have the competency to determine the highest and best use when it's outside of your credentialing?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great. Reaching out to other appraisers who have that experience. Years ago, I reached out to a commercial appraiser here locally when I was appraising some lots within a subdivision that were being further subdivided. I very, very clearly recognized that I was out of my depth, and it turned out to be a great relationship, and we actually ended up having a long-term working relationship with this commercial appraiser, where he and I had worked together on this assignment. Both of our names, we both signed the report. We both indicated the significant assistance that we provided, and then we did many assignments after that in the years to come. Craig, we've talked a little bit about how to avoid complaints on the state board side. What about the complaints that come from the GSEs? Some of the issues that you see coming up with the government-sponsored entities such as Fannie and Freddie?
I think the biggest problem that we have is that appraisers don't write enough information in the report. And that they don't go in and provide the support for your quality and condition ratings. I can't tell you how many reports I see where a home remodeled within the last 1 to 5 years. And that's it. They don't tell me what the remodeling was. What did they do? How much did they spend? What does that mean? Or maybe even worse is the house is 15, 20 years old. They've got it as good condition, but they don't say that anything has happened to the property, that it hasn't been remodeled or updated. Well, then, why is it in good condition? And so I think that the biggest challenge we face is going in and supporting our opinions and conclusions as it applies to location, view, quality, condition. And the thing that triggers the complaint on the state side, and we've got a case where an appraiser goes out. Well, this was a multifaceted complaint, but a trainee goes out, does an FHA appraisal without the supervisor, and the supervisor signs the report as having inspected the property.
Yeah.
And but the thing that triggered the complaint was the guy had spent a bunch of money putting a brand new deck on the property, and there is nowhere in the report where the deck is even mentioned, other than the box is checked.
Yeah, right.
And so obviously the value is not what they expected. And they call the appraisal office, which is, probably not the thing that they should do, but they don't know any better. And so they say, hey, I see this appraisal, and I don't see anywhere where you even mention the, this newly expanded remodeled deck that costs lots of money. And the trainee who answered the phone, who was the person who inspected the property, says, oh, well, we don't give value for decks.
That's always the best answer, right?
Right. Nobody cares about that stuff.
Right.
But and so I think if that person would have gone in and done something like, hey, you got a brand new remodeled deck that the owner reports to have spent $20,000 on, and all of the comparable sales have similar sized decks where we believe the contributory value is similar,
right,
problem goes away. Not an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, still may not agree with you, but at least you've
addressed it, right?
Yeah, you've addressed it, right? And so it's I will, even if somebody says, hey, I put a new hot water heater in, I changed out the mechanical systems, I put it in the report. If it means enough for them to tell me,
right,
then I put it in the report just so that they know that. And frankly, it becomes part of that support for my effective age, right? I mean, if I've gone in and replaced all of the mechanical systems, it probably doesn't make the house look any better, but it's probably more efficient. It probably is less costly to operate. If a buyer's aware of it, they might, be willing to pay a little more. And at the end of the day, the owner or the reader and user of the report is aware that you were aware of it and you considered it, however that happens to be. Or you didn't adjust for it, but at least you addressed it, and it becomes less likely that it's going to initiate someone complaining about your work product.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, tell the story, as Tim Anderson would say. Make sure that the information is there. And I tell you, I laugh because if the word ceiling fan is in my report, you better believe it was because the owner told me that they had ceiling fans. We're talking with Craig Morley. Craig, when we get back, I want to chat with you a little bit about this is a business, right? Appraisers is a business, and what that looks like, what it means to own a job, what it means to run a business, because I think you're a shining example of where appraisers would like to be with that. We've been talking today about complaints. We've been talking today about hot water that appraisers might get themselves into. Folks, do you have your back, or does someone have your back when you get in that situation? I can tell you that if you are with OREP Insurance, you will have that support, the support that you need, even down to the state board level. Now, folks, I want to emphasize here that E&O does not cover state board complaints unless you're with OREP. OREP does up to a certain point, and it's a great blessing when you need it. Check them out. Go to orep.org. That's OREP.org. Of course, we're sponsored by Alamode. Alamode is the software I've been using for almost 3 decades. Yeah, I know. I've been appraising almost 3 decades. Crazy. And I've always used Alamode, and it helps me to be more efficient, more effective at what I do. The mobile tools, the tools within the report itself when you're at the desktop, folks, I'm telling you, there's a reason that they lead the pack. There's a reason that everybody wants to be with Alamode. If you're with any other software, I would implore you to check them out. Yes, it will be a challenge to change over. I promise you it will be worth it. Alamode.com or 800 Alamode. And welcome back to the program, everybody. Dustin Harris hanging out with my friend Craig Morley. Craig, welcome back. Thank you for being on, my friend.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. Love spending time with you, Dustin.
Well, likewise. And you always have great wisdom to implore upon our listeners. I want to chat with you. There's a lot of changes going on in the appraisal world. A lot of people talking about this and talking about that. I got a question for you, Craig. Is appraising a job or a business?
Well, I think for many it's a job. Mm-hmm. I know that for me, long ago, I decided that we wanted this to be a business and create some value in the business. So that just to provide some context, we have 8 certified appraisers in our office. We actually have a physical office that we go to. Mm-hmm. And for many people, that doesn't make sense. But for us, what we decided to do was that the office became an asset that we allowed the business to pay for. And it then becomes part of a retirement program. Or, sure. If I can get my appraisal business to pay for the building, then I've got an asset that has the capability of generating income at some point when you get it paid off. And we've done that on a couple of projects, and it's worked very well. And so the idea that, you might look at it and say, I'd rather just kind of work out of my house, keep my overhead low. That's fine. But we find that for us, where we've got a lot of appraisers, that interaction with each other, that ability to sit down and say, hey, Jeff or Stan or Garrett, what do you guys think? I've got this situation. How would you handle it? Yeah. And getting that perspective is invaluable, especially when you're all in the same space. And we do work for government entities, for the Department of Transportation and some of these other federal agencies. So it's always nice when they come in and you've got a conference room, you can bring them in, you can sit down, you go through. We've got a 40-inch screen on the wall where you can pull up the project that they're looking at. And it provides a level of, I think, credibility having a sticks and bricks location if you're doing that kind of work. it's made sense for us, and it's been something that's worked well. But the other thing that it does is it creates some value, because what we're trying to do is have the business be less about me as the founding appraiser and a little bit more about the process, so that we can create a business that is worth something, so that I'm in my mid 60s. I'm not going to do this forever. And having the ability to sell the business, which I've negotiated a process to go ahead and do that will allow me to get a reasonable chunk of cash as I sell out my interest and move on to different things. But I see so many appraisers. I've got a lot of friends who have just kind of worked out of their house. They're good appraisers. They've made a good living. And now that they're to the point where they want to quit, they close the door, don't renew their subscriptions, and you don't have anything for those 30, 40 years of effort that you put into it. And it seems like a shame to me.
Yeah, I agree. So let's talk to those people. Let's talk to the 49-year-old appraiser who works out of his home. Again, nothing wrong with that, but is now listening to Craig and saying, yeah, you know what? I would like to have some type of retirement. What recommendations would you give to that individual, Craig?
Probably the best exit strategy that I'm aware of is go in and find a trainee that you can train. That then you will want to filter, carefully, find somebody you feel, but they become your protege. They're the person that you can sell the business to. You get some young 20-year-old that's 20, 30 years younger than you are, and say, I'll tell you what, I'll train you. And then I'll share my clients and all of my, experience with you, and give you the opportunity to buy the business as I decide to exit the profession. And we see a number of people who do that and find a degree of success in developing a strategy of that kind. I know for us, the thing that we've done is we try to make it so that the appraisers feel like they're getting value by associating with us. It costs money to operate a business. It costs, and I think the problem that many residential appraisers particularly, but even a lot of your commercial guys, they think the gross income is the same as the net income.
Right.
And it's just not. I mean, it costs you money to run your business, whether you're a one-man operation or not. And we did a little thing on the highest and best use of an appraiser. We're looking at what's legally permissible, what's physically possible, what's financially feasible, and what is the productive use. Yeah. And I've come to years ago came to the realization that I'm not a very good bookkeeper. I'm not a very good accountant, and that task I can earn more doing appraisals than I can doing books. And I find that if I can allocate those tasks based on the value of that task, and spend time doing the stuff that generates the most productive income to me, then then we end up with a situation where I'm spending more, but I'm producing more as well. And as long as the net income at the end of the day is more, then you've got a model that's going to work okay. In this current environment, it's maybe not as practical, because you've got people scraping to find a job to do. The environment right now is maybe not ideal for that, but I think it's still a good idea to explore the prospects of trying to make sure that you're spending time doing the most productive tasks possible, and not do the stuff that doesn't generate very much, takes a lot of time but doesn't generate very much income.
I absolutely 100% agree, my friend. And I appreciate the wisdom, and I appreciate the example that you've set. Taking this from a job to a business, and a successful one at that. Mr. Craig Morley, my good friend from Southern Utah, appraising Southern Utah, Southern Nevada, Northern Arizona. Appreciate it, my friend. As always, you have an open invitation to be on this program anytime you would like to come back. Thanks for your time today, friend.
Well, I'm always available. Always enjoy spending time with you, Dustin.
Thank you.
Next time you're down this way, look me up. It seems like you get around a little bit. So
I do, and I'd love to spend some time with you, friend. Thank you.
Take you on a Harley ride up through Zion or something.
Sounds like I'm there, man. I'm there. I love it. All right, friend. We'll talk soon.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.